Am I the antagonist for refusing to let my cousin move in for free while my boyfriend doesn't pay rent? I, 19, recently inherited a house and some money after my grandma passed away. She also left me 2 dogs. One is very old and has lots of vet costs. We were never very close. We definitely loved each other, but out of all her grandchildren, I'm the one with the least well-off and stable parents. So she thought the house and gift would be a good way to give me a head start in life, especially considering I never went to college and won't have any help from parents going forward. My boyfriend, 24, and I moved in last month. It isn't a very big house, but my grandparents had everything redone around 2 years ago. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and has an added dining room and small lounge separate from the living room. It also has a nice yard and in-ground pool. Just a cute little retiree's place, or a cute single-family house. My aunt, Grandma's daughter, came by last week to go through some of the clothes that were left behind and see if there was any furniture that might look good in her house. When she did, she seemed surprised to see that my boyfriend was there. She asked how long he was staying, and I told her that he was living there. It prompted some questions about how much I charged him for rent, and I explained that he didn't pay rent because he didn't have his own space. I would be charging him for half a bed that we share. She seemed kind of annoyed with the arrangement but didn't say anything before leaving. A day or two later, she texted me to ask if my cousin, 25, could stay in our spare room, 140 square feet. I told her that I'd have to think about it but that I'd get back to her. After talking it over with my boyfriend, we both agreed that we'd consider it if he could pay $150 a month. She told me that it was unfair and unreasonable to expect him to contribute that much for a small room. It isn't the biggest room, but it's an okay size, especially because the only expense rent or utility-wise is $150, and that covers everything. Average rent for a room in my area can get up to $250, $300. I've seen some listed at $500. When I told her that I could lower it to $125, she said that it was unfair that my boyfriend got to live there rent-free while my cousin would have to pay. While my boyfriend doesn't pay rent, he absolutely pays his fair share. Electricity, water, even groceries. He pays for almost all of it. That's just his character. I explained this and she exploded. I got told that this wasn't what my grandma would have wanted, and that I was ungrateful for not sharing something that could benefit multiple grandchildren. I told her that grandma left the house to me, no one else, and that if she or her son had an issue, that it sounded like a personal problem. The call ended with me being called greedy and a gold digger for letting my boyfriend pay everything for a house that wasn't even his, and that I didn't deserve the house to begin with. Am I the asshole? Do I owe it to my family? Not the antagonist. Your aunt has no right to dictate your financial arrangements with your boyfriend. You're offering him a steal for a place to stay. Focus on building your future and education. You have a free house, which is a huge advantage. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into changing your arrangement. Screw her for insulting you. Am I wrong for getting mad at my BF because of a key? I have a small key for my locker where I keep my job uniform. Before going to work, I always check that I have everything with me. On Thursday afternoon, I realized I had everything except the key. The night before, I was at my boyfriend's place, and I thought that the key must have fallen from my bag at his place and I didn't realize it. Anyway, when I went to work, I had to ask for a master key, and it was a pretty embarrassing situation for me, but my boss told me not to worry because this happens all the time. I later texted my boyfriend and asked him if he could find the key for me because this was urgent. He said sure, he would do it tomorrow. No problem. The next day came and he got home from work. I reminded him 2-3 times so that he wouldn't forget. After a while he texted me saying I'll be gaming on my computer, and I thought, and what about the key? But said nothing. But at that moment when my boyfriend told me that he was going to game, I was furious because I knew that when he starts playing, he goes on for many hours straight without stopping. I was also angry because I needed the original key as soon as possible so that I could give back the master key to my boss and wouldn't risk losing my job. But my boyfriend seemed not to understand that this was a top priority. Anyway, I left my boyfriend on red for a couple of hours because I was at work. Then I later texted him, asking, "Are you still gaming?" And he said yes. I was even angrier because it meant that he didn't even get up to look for the key. I left him on read and heard nothing from him during that night. Today was supposed to be a special day for us because we were supposed to celebrate our 2nd anniversary together. But I woke up still angry from yesterday and still didn't hear anything from him. He later on texted me good morning and said happy anniversary as if nothing happened. I immediately snapped and told him that I was angry at him because he didn't do what he said he would do. Keep in mind that he is someone who doesn't accept his wrongdoings and usually puts the blame on me. He even had the audacity to tell me, "But you should have told this earlier." I did, even a few times, but you didn't listen. I admit that losing the key is my fault, and it is my responsibility to keep it in a place where I know it'll always be. Now we are angry at each other. I am mad at him because he didn't bother to find the key like he said he would. The last thing he said was, "I will find the key if you come here to get it." He is mad at me because I ruined our supposed to be special 2nd anniversary. So now my question here is, do you think that I am angry just because of a simple stupid thing? And what do I do? Thanks for reading. Your boyfriend was wrong for saying he would do something and proceeding to not do it. You are wrong for treating this matter as an urgent priority for your boyfriend, but not important enough to show up yourself. Not to mention you don't even know for sure if the key is at his place. By any chance do you just want a reason to leave him and not feel bad about it? You don't even sound like you like this guy. Do you like your boyfriend? Or just love him because you've been together 2 years? Because you don't have to stay with him. I don't think you like him at all, and I'm not blaming you. He doesn't sound like a wonderful person. My mom is visiting from overseas and using me as an emotional crutch, and I cannot handle it. Basically, my mom has come from another country and is staying with us for a month. It's day 4 and I already feel like an emotional crutch. She has cried every day since she's been here, talking about her failed relationships between friends, family members, and hardships. She especially has expressed her anger towards my brother, who has cut contact with her, which was really difficult to continue to hear, especially when she doesn't take any personal responsibility for her part in it. This emotional dumping has been a part of our relationship since I was a teenager. I have anxiety myself, and am at the point that I now immediately experience tightness in my chest whenever she starts to get upset. She would like me to comfort her and hold her while she cries and tell her she's a wonderful person, but I cannot continue to provide that kind of support for her, which has been a pattern throughout our relationship, and something I've stepped away from doing over the past 5 years. The best I can do is to allow her to talk and share her feelings and perceptions, even if I don't agree with it, and listen, which in her words feels clinical and cold. So yesterday she had another 30-minute talk to me where she was expressing her hurt towards others. Afterwards, we were supposed to have a mother-daughter day out, but she was being distant and guarded the whole time, and it felt like she was upset with me. She had more conversation with random strangers' dogs than me. When we returned home, she spent the next 6 hours in her room away from my family, including the 2 grandchildren that she was so excited to finally meet. She didn't speak one word to me, and even my husband noticed she was acting off. I am positive that is due to the fact that I didn't give her the emotional support she needed, hugs, reassurance. I felt like I was walking on eggshells around my own home. She is unable to have a conversation about the impact her emotions have on me without getting defensive. It would honestly make the situation worse as she has no control over her emotions and can get very verbally angry, and I do not want that around my 2 young children. I have had plenty of therapy to help me process my relationship with my mom and have grown over the years and overcome a lot. But I feel like I am just really struggling with her in my space like this. How do I manage another 26 days with her when I feel like her emotional crutch, but cannot talk to her about this without it impacting my household environment? I would tell her to go home. She isn't there to see you or your children. She's there for a month long pity fest, and you have neither the time nor the sympathy to deal with her behavior, especially since she is the problem in all these situations that she claims hurt her so much. She needs to get a therapist to cry to because her using you like this is disgusting. Are things going as well for me and a girl I've been seeing as I think? So I have been dating someone for about 2 months. She is someone I've known for a long time. We grew up in the same neighborhood, and our families are familiar with each other. Not close, but it's a small neighborhood where everyone knows everyone. Things seem to be going well. Our dates are a lot of fun, with great conversation and lots of laughs. A few weeks ago, she invited me to go to California with her to visit her cousin. The trip ended up not happening due to her increased workload at work, but the invite seemed like a good sign. 2 weeks ago, her grandmother sadly passed away. I attended the funeral, which she seemed to appreciate. She invited me to the post-funeral lunch, where I met a ton of her family. After the lunch, we then went to her aunt's house nearby to hang out and play board games. At the end of the night, she told me her parents and other family members were so happy we were seeing each other. We had a great date last week. That was supposed to be a double date with one of her friends. Her friend bailed, so it was just us, but she said she wants me to meet her friend at some point. This past week I sent a small Valentine gift to her at work. It arrived a day early, but she still texted me, thanking me so much, saying I was so sweet and that the card I wrote was very funny. On actual Valentine's Day, I texted her a happy Valentine's Day and asked if she were free this weekend. Her texts back were happy Valentine's Day, and then another one saying, I am working again this weekend, and then I'm thinking I will need a day to recover. Sorry, I'm just exhausted lately. I've been working the bar more and the store is so busy, I really need a me day. Which I was totally fine with, since I know work has been nuts for her lately. My friend saw this text from her and was convinced she was blowing me off and no longer into me. She just didn't want to come right out and say that, and when girls say they're too busy to hang, it's code for them losing interest. I dismissed him immediately. Unfortunately, I do suffer from anxiety, so his statements have crept into my head just a little bit. Can anyone please share their take on the matter? I want to say I have not asked her directly as she is so busy with work this weekend, and will talk to her tomorrow or Monday. This is an attempt to calm the small anxiety I have until then. Thanks so much, and please don't hold back if I'm wrong or being silly for even asking this. Wow, your early relationship sounds like it was filled with pure good vibes. It's unfortunate that your company scheduled a work conference over Valentine's Day, but don't listen to your friend who sounds jealous. Sending random acts of flowers or food to your girlfriend during this tough time, with her heavy workload and recent loss of a relative, can really make a lasting impact and show your kindness. Your friend may be projecting his own insecurity onto the situation, so don't be anxious about giving her some me time. Am I the antagonist for staying with my son at the wrong birthday party? So this could have turned out to be a funny story, but it wasn't so. It started with a simple misunderstanding. It was my day to have my son. His mother and I share custody, and she told me when she was dropping him off yesterday that he was invited to a birthday party this Friday. Some kid from his class would be having a pizza and arcade party. My ex had already bought the gift. She dropped it when she came to bring him. My ex mentioned the name of the arcade. There was only one franchise of this arcade in our city, one that's been around for ages, and I didn't know a new Unity just opened in another neighborhood a few months ago. So I took my son to the wrong arcade. We got there, he sees a group of kids and just runs towards them. Seriously, he just mingled with those random kids and didn't mention to me that he didn't know anybody there, lol. Well, kids will be kids. 2 minutes later they were friends. I slowly began to realize my mistake while making small talk with some other parents, and I discovered the boy didn't even go to the same school as my son. A text to my ex made it clear I was in the wrong address. So now I'm laughing with myself. My son is already having fun. I already had dropped the gift at the pile. How could I possibly take it back? And odds were we wouldn't even make it into the right party given the time and the distance to the other location. Plus my boy was having fun, so I just kept this to myself. But the mother of the wrong birthday boy eventually came to introduce herself to me, asking me who was my son and so on. And I just couldn't lie to her, like making some excuse that my son is her son's classmate. WTF. So I just tried to laugh it off. I told her it was a misunderstanding. I told her my kid was in her party by mistake, and I hope he could now be friends with her son. Hope her son enjoys the gift. To my surprise, she looked very serious. She asked me when did I notice I was at the wrong party. I told her the truth, about an hour ago, and asked her if she was bothered that we ended up staying, and if so we could leave. She reacted in this super passive-aggressive way, saying something like, "What? Now that your kid had our pizza and cake, you're offering to leave?" I felt she was so out of line for implying something like that, but I didn't even say anything else. Went over to my son and left immediately. I didn't want to escalate, but now I'm wondering if I was really an for staying at the wrong party, or this lady was the real for reacting the way she did. You're the antagonist for not taking responsibility for your actions and causing confusion and disappointment at the party. Be an adult and communicate effectively instead of being a weird nuisance to strangers. It's important to check details and show up prepared, rather than relying on others to make decisions for you. Your son missed out on a party because of your carelessness, and next time you may not be so lucky. Take some responsibility for your time with your kid, and don't expect others to clean up your mess. I am sick of people asking me when my boyfriend of 5 years will propose. Yesterday I was at my cousin's for dinner, and he asked if my boyfriend was going to propose. He prefaced this with something to the effect that he was going to ask a question that was going to make him sound like a parent, which was relevant because they just welcomed their first child into the world, and I was hanging out with his wife, him, and their new child. Oh, and their dog. But to be honest, I think if he wants to know what my boyfriend is going to do, he should ask my boyfriend, not me. I didn't say that in the moment though. I think he was just asking me because we've been together for 5 years and he was looking out for me in a way that he could wrap his head around. So instead of responding to what he literally asked, I just answered the question as if he had asked me, "Do you and your boyfriend ever talk about marriage?" Which we do, but we don't have hard and fast plans about it. And honestly, I'm not sure where we lie on this topic because we joke a lot. I'd like to marry him, but some days I'm really frustrated and think we'd need some counseling to improve our communication before I'd walk down an aisle. Regardless, the point here is my cousin is asking me about when my boyfriend will do something, and my cousin is not the first person to do this to me. About 2 years ago, we were selling our couch to these guys through Craigslist. I'd been coordinating with the wife, but she sent her husband and his uncle. We all got to talking after the deal, and we found out his uncle knew my boyfriend's dad growing up. Anyways, at some point, they semi-collectively asked us how long we were married. I said we weren't. Then the uncle asked me when we were getting married in front of my boyfriend. When I just said, they then looked at him, sang his praise and said something to the effect of me possibly pestering him to propose. Then, the other guy there asked how long we had been together. I don't know why. But I responded, 3 years, which was accurate at that time, to which he responded, "Hey, common law," and shrugged. I shut up at that point, but technically that's not a thing in my state. I've had a boss of mine make offhanded remarks about living with someone before marriage. Co-workers ask if I was going to give him an ultimatum. His mom asking me about when I'm going to be a smith, etc. Anyways, all this is happening to me. They are asking me. Meanwhile, my boyfriend's dad, who is happily married, tells him in front of me, "Don't ever get married," as if these are the fruits of wisdom. Now, before you jump at his dad, I honestly don't think he's insinuating anything about me, specifically. I have a really good relationship with his parents, and they literally have told me they love me more than my own parents have. But the statement does sting a little because I feel like it's attempting to give him men in general permission to be non-committal, whether it's in the form of matrimony or not. I could give a shit about that, but these comments are totally about more than marriage. It feels like it's about not being vulnerable. But what really bothers me is that when I was Googling today, why do people ask me when my boyfriend will propose? I was frustrated by all the anecdotes from men being pissed about ultimatums, and then some were about women who were starting to reflect on their relationships after someone pointed out to them that it's weird that their boyfriend hasn't popped the question. Do men not realize that women are being bombarded with these questions? Do men think these questions carry zero weight? I'm just sitting here like, why are people asking women why their boyfriends haven't proposed, and not the boyfriends themselves? And why are men being congratulated for having long-term girlfriends instead of wives? Is it a money thing? Anyways, has anyone else noticed this? What were your experiences like? Any shared frustrations? Do any men get asked by people other than their girlfriends why they haven't proposed yet? These same people will be nagging you about kids the moment you get married. Put them in their place now. Live on your timeline, not theirs. Tell them to ask your boyfriend and keep responding with that, or say it's none of their business. I don't know about sexism, but I do know these questions are obnoxious. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.